really for me, the prize is about bringing people together.
Nurturing your young minds and helping to shape your futures.
So to be able to bring them all together and celebrate that is fantastic.
Wherever I am and wherever whatever office block I'm sitting in.
You just got to keep going where you're going.
I want to show that it is possible.
If you're lucky, you're lucky.
With Charles at the helm of the royal family now, he really needs to modernise. So that will be slimming down the number of working royals, but also making sure that the younger members of the family, who are the future, are given the prominence that they deserve.
This slimmed down monarchy is designed to represent a modern, progressive, inexpensive version of monarchy, because that's how Charles thinks the public will respond to it. There is this small band of them at the heart of the firm who are going to be the significant figures, but it's also meant that William is very much presented as the one that people have to watch.
We support with pride and respect your decisions about your future.
They are hard-working royals, but most of all, they're popular. People love to see them, and people love to see the family all together. So they can be very effective in keeping up the profile of the monarchy and keeping the royal family popular.
What's really nice is I noticed when I was working for him at Highgrove, he was very much training his son, Prince William. He was teaching him all the things that he had learned. So he's passed it on to Prince William, who is now the Prince of Wales.
These days, the monarchy, our monarchy, is a charitable monarchy. Its primary function is to shine a light on charities. The royal family supports thousands of charities. They are a very normal family.
The royal family exists because of the people and for the people, so you have to be able to appeal to the people that you exist to serve.
As Britain enters a new era with a new king on the throne, the prospect of a more normal monarchy is in sight. This generation of royal upbringing is seen to be one different to generations before, undertaking a more modern approach, and is one that assures to please the public today.
So we're seeing, in some ways, the next generation. These are the great-grandchildren of the Queen coming through. We saw the role of William and Kate really ratchet up at the Jubilee, and that is, of course, continued after the death of the Queen. So that after Prince Charles and Queen Camilla, really the most important members are the Prince and Princess of Wales.
I think it has really grounded him in a way that other members of the family have not been so grounded.
George, Charlotte and Louis, the children of William and Kate, are being taught the ways of the royals, all while being able to have a loving, down-to-earth childhood.
The Prince and Princess of Wales definitely want their kids to have as much of a normal childhood as they can. And they want that for all of them, for George, Charlotte and Louis. They want them to be able to enjoy their childhood things, playing sports, going to school, to protect them as much as they can until they can't, until they're over 18, until they have to be in the spotlight.
So I think there are changes afoot that will see the monarchy move in a new direction.
What the great thing this is for the royal family is it gives a sense of renewal, that the royal family will continue, that it's a young royal family, and that they are going to play a much more leading role in giving people a sense that this is just a very ordinary family that people can identify with.
With William now heir to the throne, the future of the monarchy is something that he, along with King Charles III, hopes to transform for the better.
It's moving in a new direction, and the Prince has ideas about where the monarchy should be in this century.
Prince of Wales steps forward to give homage to his father, the King.
I, William, Prince of Wales, pledge my loyalty to you, and faith and truth I will bear unto you, as your liege man of life and limb. So help me God.
A touching part of King Charles III's coronation, part of the service that took place at Westminster Abbey, was when William had to pledge allegiance to his father, King Charles III, and he knelt down in front of him and said the words that he would pledge allegiance to serve the king. And it was a really touching moment. King Charles III sitting in that chair, he looked quite nervous, to be honest, for the whole service. And at that point, he looked quite emotional. You could see it written all over his face, in his eyes, and as Prince William knelt before him and then kissed him on the cheek, he looked like he was overcome with emotion as well. And you must wonder what both of them were thinking. I mean, the next time that will happen, it will be King William, as he will be styled at that time, or whatever he decides to call himself, perhaps King William V, sitting in that chair with his son, Prince George, pledging allegiance to him.
When William becomes king, it could be shortly, it could be decades away. Whenever it is, I think he will be very much a king who knows his own mind. William is a very determined man. He likes to be in control of his life and in control of the situation around him. I think he takes the role very seriously. I think he believes in monarchy. And in all the charities that he works for as well, they really love him.
Hello.
I just wanted to say thank you for rescuing me last year.
Was it you?
Yeah.
Was it from the beach in Langer?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it
In
your
Cameron.
sister?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you? You all right?
I'm okay.
I'm glad you made a full recovery. A lot of time you never meet up with anyone after you've done it.
We
So
made
it's
a point
quite.
of coming here today because we thought you're so good.
All right.
Say thanks to you and the
No,
guys. And
the guys,
the whole team.
It's the whole team. It's all crew. It's a crew thing.
He's got a great deal of charisma. He's kind, he's thoughtful, and as I say, he's funny. And that really breaks the ice with anybody.
So, I thought I'd start with something personal, a tribute to my parents. I have 2 children, as you probably know. I gather it has been widely reported.
His relationship with the Middleton family, I think, has been terribly important to him. And I think it has really grounded him in a way that other members of the family have not been so grounded.
William has a profound relationship with his wife, Kate Middleton. They are said to have created a home full of love and warmth for their children, and it's all thought to be down to Kate's 2 parents, Michael and Carol Middleton. It's thought that their children, George, Charlotte and Louis, are enjoying a very different childhood to their father, Prince William, with an upbringing more like their mother's.
I mean, one of the things that's been clear actually for a long time is you very evidently have a close-knit family, and family is very important to you.
Yeah, no, it's very important to me, and I hope we'll be able to have a happy family ourselves, because it's been they've been great over the years, helping me with difficult times, and we see a lot of each other, and they're very, very dear to me.
She's produced 3 adorable-looking children. She is always elegant. She always is dignified. But I think what she and William have done very cleverly is to retain the mystique of monarchy, while at the same time giving people a sense that this is just a very ordinary family that people can identify with. And so they live a life of great privilege. We don't feel that they take advantage. We feel they're driven by public service and by trying to do good. And so I think there's terrific respect for both of them, and they've tried. It's a difficult role, Prince of Wales. You've got to forge your own identity, and Kate has picked up on a number of charities that she's very involved with. She speaks well. She makes people feel very relaxed.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, very nice to meet you.
This is Oliver. I'd like to show you what this group has made.
Look at this, amazing. How long have you been working on this for? A few hours.
And it's a view of how the ideal kindergarten would look like if we could decide and had the budget and all the things, that sort of stuff.
And this comes, I think, from a very stable middle-class upbringing.
Normal middle-class upbringing with her parents, you know, they've owned a few businesses and things like that, and she went to St Andrews University to study. So she had a very outdoorsy life, a very normal middle-class British upbringing. And that's what she's trying to bring to her 3 children.
Kate Middleton waited months for William to propose to her. And when he did, the world was full of excitement, with thousands of people tuning in to witness the wedding day. Only soon after, the prospects of when there would be a royal baby were starting to surface. 2 years after the special day, a royal baby was born, Prince George.
They were holding the baby and they just looked so beautiful and happy. It was really stunning. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
There was huge excitement when Prince George was born. The media had been waiting for 3 weeks. It was a swelteringly hot summer. There were crews from all over the world desperately, frantically trying to give their viewers something new, talking endlessly about the building or the history of the place, spinning it out for a very long time.
Very emotional.
Yeah, it's very emotional. It's such a special time. I think any parent, I think, will probably sort of know what this feeling feels like. So
It's very special.
Kate looked extraordinary. She didn't look as though she'd been pregnant at all as she came out, having given birth just hours earlier. William got the baby in the car seat into the back of the Range Rover and off they went. But it was a very, very happy day. I think both of them were thrilled to be parents. Kate had had a difficult pregnancy. She'd had excessive morning sickness, or sickness throughout really. But I think she took to being a mother. She was a natural, and she had great support.
The birth of their son compares to the birth of Prince William, when he was also an heir to the throne after his father, the now King Charles.
Crowds gathered outside Buckingham Palace throughout the evening. Then at 10:25, their patience was rewarded with the formal notice of the birth.
Diana had been the fairy tale princess, and her marriage to Charles was, the public were absolutely ecstatic. And when Diana then became pregnant and announced she was pregnant, again the public were absolutely thrilled. This was a huge excitement. And people camped for days outside the hospital where she gave birth, which was St Mary's, Paddington. She was in the private Lindo wing there. The media were camped outside for days, waiting for the announcement. And finally, it came. People were there with champagne bottles, and it was a great occasion.
It's a relationship built on example and love, and even when there needs to be discipline, it is done in a way that enforces boundaries but doesn't in some ways disparage the child. And this is reflective of the generation that they're in, of what their own friends are doing, I think, with their own children.
William and Kate have stated that they want their children to grow up being their best friends. And part of this led to incorporating the chat sofa, a chat on the sofa.
It's an opportunity to have a bit of a quiet moment with their children if there's something they need to talk to them about, whether that's school, whether that's behaviour, whatever it is. They have a sofa where they can have a one-on-one, have a conversation, maybe lay down some ground rules or sort out an issue, and that's something that really works for the family.
George started primary school in September 2017 at Thomas's School in Battersea. In 2022, the family moved to Adelaide Cottage in Windsor Home Park and has since been attending Lambrook, an independent school in Berkshire.
Prince George is very exuberant, especially when it comes to sports. He loves supporting Aston Villa with his dad, and actually any football tournament that you see him at, he's definitely there celebrating goals. So he's definitely very sporty, very exuberant, very lively. He can be a little bit cheeky as well. Apparently at school one day he said to some of the kids in his class, "My dad's going to be king one day, or I'm going to be king one day, so you should stop doing that." So he's lively, very sporty, a little bit cheeky.
William and Kate are adamant about replicating the relationship that exists with Kate's family, and so the late Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, gave them permission to prioritise raising their children above executing their duties as royals. The key difference to note here is that previous generations have never had the chance to get this foundation right.
They were determined, I think, to be real hands-on parents.
Much more hands-on.
Very hands-on when it comes to her children. She likes to do the school run. She likes to be the one that goes shopping for school supplies and uniform, socks and underwear and all those other things that normal mums do. You know, she wants to be the one to do it. She wants to be the one that's very hands-on with her children. And she wants to make sure that she's really rooted in whatever they're doing, whatever's happening at school, whatever sports they're involved in, clubs, extracurricular activities. She really wants to be across that because she wants to be a hands-on parent. She had that from her parents. She's seen the damage that happens when you don't have that from parents, so she wants to make sure that she is there for her 3 children.
William's childhood informed his adulthood. There's no doubt about it. He witnessed some horrible things as a child, and he was very concerned about his mother.
Diana was a good mother. There was a bank of nannies. There were about 3 nannies that did a shift system, that did all the sort of basic stuff, like giving them breakfast. But Diana was actually quite hands-on. And certainly, if she was in London, she would take them to school, and she would always try to be there at the end of the day, to be part of this sort of mother image, which she was very keen on doing. They had a very good relationship, but you know, they were no different, the children, although with all the luxury and the privileges of being royal, and they were constantly being reminded of how privileged they were and what life was like on the other side of royalty. And that's why Diana would, a bit later, took William to these refuge shelters. Again, not for any sort of photographic opportunity, because very often when we went there, we went without anyone knowing that we were going. But it was part of Diana's education, so she was very keen to be a hands-on mother in that sense, both in the house and outside of it.
Diana kept nothing from him. She cried in front of him, flew into rages in front of him. He saw her distress at the media.
It was relentless. I don't think there was a day, apart from a very few days, when we managed to escape the loitering paparazzi. I think at this point it's interesting to say that there's a difference for me when you mention the press. There's the press, the sort of Fleet Street pack, you know, the sort of national newspaper journalists and photographers who worked very professionally. And then, but in complete contrast, the sort of free-for-all runaround of the paparazzi in search of the picture that nobody else has got.
The princess, here at the centre of attention last Friday when the terms were settled, didn't attend the court.
The couple have apparently exchanged nicknames and intimate gifts. It's also been alleged that Carling phoned Diana 3 to 4 times a day, some chats lasting for hours.
The media were everywhere. During the years, you see yourself as a good product that sits on a shelf and sells well, and people make a lot of money out of you.
Ma'am, how's William settling in?
But fundamentally, William couldn't protect his mother, but he can protect Kate. He's hugely protective of Kate and his friends, and always has been. And there was, always the tradition, never explain, never complain, never sue. All of that's out of the window with William. Very early on in his relationship with Kate, he let it be known, he sent legal letters to the press if they were being intrusive on her privacy. And when there were photographs of her taken topless sunbathing in the south of France, again, he took action against the foreign magazine that published those photographs. He's determined that his family will not be destroyed in the way that his family were, that his parents' relationship was.
They want to learn from mistakes that were perhaps made in the past with other members of the royal family. We have seen the children, yes, we have seen them more and more at a few events all together, and the older two, Charlotte and George as well. But what we don't get is we don't get regular updates of how they're doing at school, where we used to get with Harry and William, Princess Diana and Prince Charles as he was then. They used to issue those statements to the press. We don't get that. We did see a shot of them going to school on their first day, but there has been, no paparazzi shots, no long lens shots of them in the playground or anything like that. They really, really value their children's privacy and their right to have a childhood. Now, we know royal watchers and royal fans love to see royal children, and yes, we certainly are getting to see a bit of them, royal events and on their social media channels, but they're fiercely protective of them and their childhood. Apart from perhaps them going to the odd royal events, they bring them up as a very middle class upbringing, very outdoorsy, doing sports and riding horses, playing tennis and things like that. They really want to make sure that they are there for them. Unlike with William and Harry, who had governesses, as did Prince Charles, he was left for long stretches while his mum, the Queen Elizabeth, went off on royal tours. They don't necessarily want to do that. They want to be there for the children. They want to raise their children and protect their childhood as much as they can.
I think it's interesting that we will, see the children being kept out of the public limelight, that they will, in a sense, be protected until they reach the age of maturity. One of the things that Kate has been very good at is that she, in a sense, is curated the narration. She has been the one taking the photographs of family events and then sent those pictures to the press. So she has shaped the narrative, often through photographs rather than anything else. So though we don't know that much about their family life, we see quite a lot of pictures of them making cakes and doing things. And so though the children don't do many public events outside the Jubilee celebrations, we do get a sense of their family life together, pictures of them on holiday. She knows that the public want to see something of them, but she knows where to draw the line.
Prince William knew at a young age that he was destined to be crown king. As a result, he resented the role and the invasiveness of the public for years. Once Kate had Prince George, the pair decided to approach the subject of royal status differently. The couple works to shield their kids from the spotlight for as long as possible. However, with the Jubilee, the death of the Queen and the coronation, Prince George may have thought more about his destiny.
Prince George was told probably when he was around 7 that he was the heir to the throne and that he was going to be king. And so he's been involved in a few royal events. He was part of the coronation ceremony and part of the coronation service. He served as a page, and he's been to a few events when it's just been him and his father and his mother. So he is definitely doing much more of royal events and royal tours. He's been singled out to spend time with his grandfather, King Charles III, who will also be talking to him and schooling him about what he's doing and what's coming up for him. So he's having that one-on-one time. He's more involved in royal life and these royal events. And that's perfect preparation. Remember, he's only just turned 10. So he's still very young. He's still all about the rugby and the football and playing with his siblings. But he is having these little, drip feeding this information to him as he's going along to prepare him for this life of service. When King William ascends to the throne, you will definitely see Prince George's preparation kick up a notch. Probably what's happening right now to Prince William. We don't know what age George will be. He certainly will be older than he is now, but he will definitely be being more prepared for that life of service. He probably would have spent time in the armed forces, so he will know the value of being commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He will have decided what his life's work is going to be, whatever, charities he's going to focus on, and he will be probably learning in a very hands-on way, the way that Prince William is right now, the job of king, the job of being, this unelected head of state, commander-in-chief, and everything that means. Prince George's first ever royal engagement was when he was just 2 years old, and he was at a royal air show with his mum and dad, the Prince and Princess of Wales. He was in the cockpit of a plane. There was some really cute pictures of him wearing these big ear defenders, and he was in the cockpit of the plane, and he asked his mum if it was time to fly the red arrows now, to which his mum replied, not quite yet. I mean, at 2 years old, wanting to fly a red arrow, following in his father's footsteps, because he flew in the armed forces as well.
As things stand, there's only one person in the world who can tell him exactly what it's like to take on the role that's in store for him, King Charles.
Prince George and King Charles III do have quite a special relationship. They are very, very close. They like spending one-on-one time together. And I think that's actually very sweet. It's very sweet to see King Charles III in this kind of grandfatherly role. I think that certainly softened him on his journey to becoming king. So the two of them are quite close. They do spend time together one-on-one, and Prince George will need that in his preparation to one day, take his grandfather's job, as it were.
Two years later, Princess Charlotte came along, also born in the Lindo wing of the same hospital. And she, despite being a girl, is fourth in line to the throne.
So the Succession to the Crown Act was enacted in 2013. This basically meant that Princess Charlotte could be in line to be heir to the throne by her birthright. So before the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013, it would have went Prince William, then George, then Louis, then Charlotte. But the Succession of the Crown Act of 2013 meant that it actually went Prince William, George, then Charlotte, then Louis. Before, it basically meant that male heirs came before female heirs. But now the Act has meant that a female heir, wherever she was born, will be in the line of succession according to her age, and she won't be skipped by her brother.
This had happened to Princess Anne and her siblings, as her younger brothers jumped ahead of her in the line of succession. In 2013, this rule officially changed to allow a daughter to be in line to the throne, no matter her birth year. Princess Charlotte was born on May 2nd, 2015. We see Prince William arriving at the hospital with George to see his sister.
Like any father, this was a moment Prince William wanted to share with his son. Prince George was carried into the Lindo wing to meet his little sister for the first time.
Her full name is Charlotte Elizabeth Diana, honouring past relatives. Charlotte is the feminised version of her grandfather King Charles, and is also Aunt Pippa's middle name.
King Charles III was so touched when Charlotte was named after him. It's always thought that he and Princess Diana wanted a daughter, ended up with two wonderful sons. And so when his son had a daughter, he was so excited and said that he was going to spoil her rotten, and also said that it was lovely to have someone to look after him in his old age. Princess Charlotte has a few nicknames. Her father likes to call her Mignette, which I believe means delicate one, and also her mum calls her Lottie.
Princess Charlotte joined her brother Prince George at Thomas's school in Battersea in September 2019. Since 2022, she also joined Lambrook upon her parents' move to Windsor. Although she might be royalty, styled as Her Royal Highness Princess Charlotte of Cambridge, a name far too long to write on exercise books, she goes by Charlotte Cambridge at school to help her have an as normal childhood as possible. Her brother George is also known as George Cambridge.
As she left the car this morning, Princess Charlotte, like so many other children in recent weeks, looked a little nervous and found a spot behind her mum's dress for safety. Then again, the first day at school is never the easiest when you're just 4 years old. Her big brother Prince George, of course, has been doing this for a while now. He's going into year 2, and if you were to compare their faces today, it would be easy to conclude that he looked a lot less happy about being back in the classroom after the summer holidays than his sister. Charlotte had a ponytail to flick, however, and Dad said she was very excited.
First day, it's very exciting.
George will help show you the way, said Kate, as they disappeared into class.
They follow in the footsteps of their father and uncle, Prince Harry, who both used Wales as their surname. It's also hoped that the children would attend Eton in the future, a school their father had also attended.
Princess Charlotte could potentially attend Eton if the school decides to go co-ed, if they decide to admit girls as well. It's thought that Prince George might be lined up to attend Eton. It's thought that Prince Louis may go there as well. So if the school does decide to go co-education, we could see Princess Charlotte there.
Eton is a school probably unlike any other, really. It has a vocabulary and a language that is unique to Eton. And also, I think unusually, every boy from the day they arrive have a private room with their own little study incorporated in their room. They are treated probably more like university students than school children. Eton has a huge amount of money. Any subject that anyone wants to study, whether it's on the curriculum or not, they can study. They can do whatever hobby they want. It's a very stimulating and interesting place, and it attracts some of the best speakers for all the societies and so on. It's a very special place.
The children all have unique hobbies, and it's thought that little Princess Charlotte is no different. Just like her father and brothers, and also her mother, she's keen in many areas of sports, earning her the nickname, the Warrior Princess.
She loves tennis, she loves hiking, sailing. She does love climbing trees. She's not adverse to a bit of rough and tumble. So she's quite lively, definitely earned her nickname of the Warrior Princess.
All the royal family are country people at heart. I mean, they have country houses, they enjoy going stalking and fishing and sailing. They're not really urban people. I mean, they are like most of the British aristocracy. Their roots are very much in the country. And I think they've been keen, all the younger royals, to create this sense of affinity with nature. William, of course, is a very strong environmentalist. He's made that very much his own issue. It's not a party political issue, but it's clearly a big, important issue that unite the country. So I think they've been very clever about what they've chosen, and often it reflects their own interests.
This love of the countryside is also there to help Charlotte find her own way to being a spare, a subject that William and Kate are fond of, wanting to learn from mistakes of the past and to avoid future turmoil.
William and Kate definitely want to avoid another Harry situation, in that they want to make sure that they bring up their 3 children to know that even if you're not going to be the heir, whatever path you choose in your life, can be worthwhile, and they want to support that to make sure that they don't have a child who feels like a spare, like Harry did, and maybe isn't guided to find his path. So they want to make sure that that doesn't happen, that they are supportive of their children, that they make sure that, you know, they're guided on their paths to whatever it is that they want to do, whatever it is that they want to be. And also so that they can prevent fallouts, you know, so the family can stay together, and whoever is in the family, whatever their role is, that they know that they are important and they are worthwhile and they are part of this family.
I mean, there's the classic engagement with Harry and William on a journey to Highgrove one weekend, and they'd clearly been at loggerheads with each other, William and Harry. So the nanny was sat in the middle of this back seat refereeing this argument until Diana, who was driving, I sat in the front seat, told them to shut up. And at which point Harry turns across to William, and I'll never forget this. He said, "It's all right for you," he said, "you'll be king one day," he said, "I won't be, and so it doesn't matter, therefore I can do what I like." And it was a fantastic statement. And Diana was completely transfixed driving, and she said out of the corner of her mouth, "Where the hell did he get that from?" I mean, so I don't know, but he's just said it, and I think he probably means it. I would sort of go forward a lot. I mean, that's exactly in essence now what Harry has done.
There can be life outside the royal family. You know, we've seen other members of the royal family, whether it's Beatrice, Eugenie, you know, Zara Phillips, have all done jobs and done amazing things with their life. And also Prince Harry has done some pretty cool things with his life as well. I mean, the Invictus Games is an incredible legacy to leave. And so they want their children to know that outside of the royal family, outside of being the heir, you know, there is a path that they can follow, and that they will guide them to that path, and that they can do it and not feel like perhaps they are not worth being in the royal family, or that, you know, they have to perhaps feel that they are being left out in some way.
Princess Charlotte has also won the hearts of many with her dress sense, taking very kindly to her mother's elegant nature and also her great-grandmother's. She's always seen in a smock-style dress, Mary Jane shoes, cardigans and coats, paired with accessories like bows and headbands, rib tights and detailed white socks. Not only is her name so popular, but her influence on the fashion industry is just as spectacular.
Princess Charlotte made an appearance at Wimbledon with her mum and her dad and Prince George as well, and she looked super cute. She was wearing a blue and white floral dress from Friki, which is a Madrid-based Spanish brand. The dress cost £169. She paired it with a really cute blue ribbon and some white shoes, and of course that dress sold out in a flash. She was really enjoying the tennis though. She had on some really cute sunglasses as well, which I've been looking for a while. I still haven't got them. But she seemed really, really into the tennis. But just like her mum, she is essential to the fashion industry. And that brand was certainly put on the map. And like I said, after she wore that dress, sold out. I think that William and Kate are definitely happy about the rising popularity of all their children, to be honest. I think Princess Charlotte definitely has a special place because the line of succession is quite male heavy at the moment, but we had a queen for so long, which was actually quite unusual to have a female monarch for such a long time. And now we're in the reign of a king, and then we'll be in the reign of another king, and then another one. And so I think it's great to have Princess Charlotte and Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, in places of prominence, so we can remember what it's like when women are in charge.
Given the closeness between Charlotte and her father, there is a possibility that when he ascends to the throne, he could give his daughter the title of Princess Royal. This title is currently given to Princess Anne, the most hardworking member of the royal family.
Now, the Princess Royal, that title is the highest title that you can give to a female member of the royal family, apart from Queen. Now, Princess Anne has a title of the Princess Royal. She was given that in 1987, and there have been 7 Princess Royals before her. Prince Louis is definitely your typical, 5-6-year-old. He is very cheeky, really funny to see him at royal events, actually. He was famous for putting his hands over his ears when the fly past went past and screaming. We've seen him making faces at his mom when he's been told to, behave and sit down. He's really, really funny, definitely very cheeky, very mischievous. Even though he's having all that royal training, he is, a young boy who has to sit still at long events, and he's done pretty well. But it's definitely so funny to see his take on a royal event, and the memes that have been made of him across social media are priceless. She balances him. She's definitely more calm, a bit more sedate, and he definitely is the cheeky one. They look very alike, but it seems that they've got quite different personalities. And a lot of people have compared him to Prince Harry. When he was younger, he was definitely very cheeky. He used to pull a fair amount of faces as well. So a lot of people have said that Prince Harry and Prince Louis are definitely very alike.
The youngest child, Prince Louis, came in April 2018, also at St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. On this occasion, Prince William took George and Charlotte to visit their little brother at the hospital on the day he was born. Prince Louis's adoration of rugby sets him apart from his siblings. Prince George is said to be a huge tennis fan, while Charlotte enjoys gymnastics the most.
Prince Louis is a big fan of rugby. He loves watching it and he loves playing it as well. He's also a big fan of tennis. We didn't see him at the Wimbledon final. It was probably too long of an afternoon for him, but definitely watched it at home. He's also, like most young boys, a big fan of tractors and diggers, and we did see him at the big help out the day after the coronation, getting the opportunity to operate a digger, and he certainly looked like he was having a wonderful time. He was definitely more concentrating on the diggers than pulling any faces this time.
I think the choice of names by William and Kate is very interesting. The eldest, George, will become George VII after his great-grandfather. We have Charlotte, again a very well-known royal name, going right back to the Georgian period. And then the third son, Louis, named after Prince Philip's uncle, Lord Louis Mountbatten, last Viceroy of India. So they've drawn on family names, those slightly unusual ones. This Louis is the first Louis in the family since Lord Louis Mountbatten, before that one of Victoria's children. Charlotte, as I say, we haven't had a Charlotte going back to Queen Charlotte. So there's this very strong sense of continuity, that they are part of this, well, basically this family going back 1,000 years that has been in charge.
George and Charlotte seem to be quite like their father, Prince William, and that they are quite respectful, they're quite calm, they're quite graceful when they're in public. They've definitely taken to the royal training, shaking hands and knowing how to talk to people. Prince Louis, probably more like Prince Harry, I suspect, but more cheeky, but more mischievous, and definitely a bit more of a rule breaker.
Harry was the sort of the frontline jester that would be entertaining. And also, if you ever got in a spot of bother, if Harry were old enough, he's the sort of guy that would come and help you out. William would think about it. But, that's not a criticism of either.
William and Kate want to ensure that their children both have work days and play days, so that they can balance being a royal with being a child. It is thought that their style is reminiscent of William's mother, Diana.
Diana would always make sure that they had entertainment after their schooling days, like the Thorpe Park, theme parks. She was good at entertaining them, and it was part of her education of showing them what other children of their age group do. I don't think it sort of sat very well with the Prince of Wales. I didn't think he really could see the point of dragging these young children off to burger bars and theme parks. But it was part of Diana's programme. And to be fair to the Prince, he acknowledged that the children were perhaps happier in her company at that time than they would be with his. So it must have been difficult for him, with Diana having, no doubt the lion's share of the children. But I think it worked.
George, Louis and Charlotte have been taught the ways of the royal family and are being taught as they go along. So that's a lot of different things, from how to sit at royal events, how they should greet people, how they should shake hands, even what cutlery they should use at dinner. They have all this training. And compared to other royal parents, Prince Charles, as he was then, was left for pretty long stretches when his mum, Queen Elizabeth II, was off doing royal tours and the business of, being a young queen, as it were. He was often left with governesses and his grandmother. And we haven't seen that at all, actually, with William and Kate. They took George on a royal tour when he was a baby, just like Princess Diana actually took Prince William when he was a baby. And so they're very hands-on, definitely want to be there for their children, want to be involved in their upbringing and want to protect their childhood as much as they can. King Charles III was definitely more of a hands-off parent. Prince Harry talked about in Spare when he was told by his father that his mother had died, and he describes how Prince Charles, as he was then, patted him on the knee and called him dear boy. There was no embrace or anything like that. So he was definitely a bit more hands-off as a parent, probably wasn't there as much as Prince William is being for his children. And I think both Prince Harry and Prince William want to learn from, perhaps I could say, the mistakes that King Charles III made, and they don't want to repeat them with their own children.
I think it must be a great sadness to William that his children didn't know his mother, but there are lots of pictures of her in the house. She's talked about. There are clearly artefacts that get passed on, rings and things like that. So, I think like any family where perhaps the grandmother has died before the children are born, there is a sense of that they are still part of the family, even though they're not there. But there's certainly a very, very close bond with Kate Middleton's parents, and they see a lot of them. Again, they live quite close to Windsor, and they're very hands-on grandparents. And again, a very good, I think, example to the children.
When you look at William and Harry today, they're certainly more normal than perhaps their father was at that age. I think that, on the whole, was attributable to Diana's motherhood, quite frankly.
Wanting to be part of a very normal family, William and Kate continue to want the best for their children, prioritising a more hands-on approach to their upbringing. Their dedication sets them apart from previous generations, hinting just how much they value the importance of family.
This generation of royal children are definitely getting to have a childhood. So we are certainly seeing much less of them in front of the camera, and what we do see is very controlled. So, we don't get the updates of how they're doing at school, and we got those about William and Harry from the Prince and Princess of Wales, Charles and Diana, as they were then. We got updates on their exam results and how they were doing at school. We don't get that with George, Louis and Charlotte. They're definitely allowed much more of a childhood, much more privacy. When it came to Prince Charles, as he was then when he was a child, he was left alone for quite long stretches while his parents went off on royal tours, so he was left with governesses and nannies and his grandmother. But when it comes to this generation, George, Louis and Charlotte, even extending to Archie and Lilibet and Sienna and August and Ernest, they are definitely have so much more hands-on parents and hands-on grandparents as well. We've seen King Charles III with his grandchildren. Sarah, the Duchess of York, is especially close to her daughters and their children as well. So this generation of royal children are definitely getting much, much more of their parents, and I think we're going to see much more well-rounded royal children as they grow up.
With their vision of modernising the monarchy, one thing is clear. The future of the monarchy is in very good hands.
It's their generation that will decide the fate of the monarchy into this century and beyond. It's their generation, and it's a very technical generation. It's moving in a new direction.
The world will be watching as William and Kate help King Charles III lead an ever-evolving yet constant monarchy.